Hello beautiful people, how are you guys doing? This is Idris with another build guide. This time it's a weird one. It is a Cyclone, Castwell Channeling, Ball Lightning, Corrupting Fever, Scion using Star Shards, and yeah, sounded like a mesh of words, kinda is. It is a mesh of different concepts put together beautifully and kinda working. Yeah, the weirdest part about this build is that it actually works, and I was actually able to do some late game content. I killed like Awakener 9 a couple of times, did like invitation. I haven't yet done like the big invitations, I feared and whatever, but yeah, it kind of holds up. The clear is buttery smooth. It's just a pleasure to play this. Gameplay is excellent. One of the most AFK things you will ever find. The build itself, I didn't come up with the concept. Shout out to Arthur, by the way. Thanks for finding it on PoE Ninja. And lately, PoE Ninja has been flooded with these, and I can see why people are playing it. It's just so satisfying, and I will show you why. But before we jump into the map showcase and how to build the character, I would appreciate if you guys subscribe, left a like, comment. I read them all, and I invite you to my Twitch channel as well. I Twitch every day. As well as that, join our Discord. We have a lot of fun there, memes, and as well as that, I will be doing polls to define my next build. So I will be doing like multi, A, B, and C, and you can choose what build I will play next. And yeah. Let's, without further ado, let's jump into the character, the showcase. The gameplay itself is just, you cycle, everything dies. And yeah, what else do you need, right, in PoE? That said, this build does have like a bunch of obstacles you have to overcome for it to feel good. As you can see, I'm not doing any damage, right? Before I activate the Corrupting Fever. Corrupting Fever is a buff, is a spell that you need to cast basically, and it costs life. On a 6 link with life tap, it costs like over 10,000 life to activate, which is impossible, right? I don't have 10,000 life and I don't want to pay for it. That's why we solved this with a unveiled modifier on an amulet that makes like skills cost no mana while focused, and that's like one of the many cool interactions. Not many, but one of the key components to the build. Before I found out about this anointment, well, not anointment, but the craft, right? Skills cost no mana or life while focused. I was like unsuckering life tap, then casting Corrupting Fever for like 4k HP. Then I would heal back. The 4k HP was a shit show, but still I would do it and still clear maps like as smoothly. As you can see, it's just it's just so enjoyable. Like we're using Ball Lightning only as a payload delivery, right? So our Ball Lightning doesn't deal any damage. It's just a hit that matters, that applies corrupting blood on enemies. As you can see, like it's so good for popping legions as well, even in this fucked up area, like a closed off pose off area. It's still just fully popped the legion without any problems. Yeah. This build has like 5.2k HP, almost like 7k effective HP with ES, because we go Divine Flesh, and it's tanky. It has a lot of sustain. It's just enjoyable overall. And when I saw this build, I immediately fell in love with this, and I was like, I gotta try it out. And I didn't find any YouTube videos. Yeah, I decided to share it with you because yeah, this needs to be out there. Yeah, just basically let the balls tickle enemies and they just bleed to death. yeah, we're using Scion for the additional curse from Occultist, and Gladiator for more physical damage over time. Corrupting Fever is a spell, but it doesn't get scaled with spell damage. It only gets scaled with damage over time, phys damage over time, and gem levels. Gem levels being the best way of scaling you can possibly do for the gem. Alright. Let me jump into how I built the character so far. By the way, the map was no region map. That's why I was struggling so much, right? And like this build can clear every map mod, even no region, as I just showcased, right? I'm just running Blood of the Karui for this exact purpose, because we're not using any mana, right? We're only sustaining our skills, casting skills through life, and yeah. Can do any map mod, but that said, I would recommend you avoid like less recovery rate and no region maps. Let me jump into the character, to the gear. So as I said, main DPS source is Corrupting Fever. Currently it's level 29. We scale it as much as we can. I'm using +2 Amulet. I'm using effectively it's +3 chest, because it gets +1 to Strength Gems, which applies to Corrupting Fever. And it +1 support gems and Strength Gems affect Empower. So effectively Empower gains 2 levels. Yeah, so it's +3 chest. Yeah, this the Astral Plate is pretty easy to craft. Actually, it's item level 80. And if you look at the Craft of Exile, if you grab an I-80 Astral Plate, Redeemer Slam it, and you use combination of Faceted, Corroded, Dense, and Pristine Fossils for maximum to block all the bad outcomes in the 4-socket resonators. On average, you will hit +1 strength and +1 support in 2 tries. This took me 1 try, and I hit +1 intelligence, which is, you know, expectable with my luck. But yeah, those are pretty easy to craft and like cost under 7 exalts, I would say, because Faceted Fossil is half an X, and maybe the Resonator is half an X. So each try is like 1 exalt, right? And yeah, +1 strength, +1 support, that's what you want. And gain life as extra ES is because we're Divine Flesh, right? On the chest. Otherwise, yeah. As a gem link for Corrupting Fever is Corrupting Fever, level 21, very important. Quality is not that important, because we constantly stack. Skill effect duration is pretty nice for, because the base duration on corrupting blood is 1 second, right? And you want to stack 10 of them. And 1 ball lightning applies like 7 to 10. I calculate it as 8, like, to be fair, but I'm pretty sure it's always, almost always on a boss. We're having 10 Corrupting Fever stacks. So get level 21 first, and then 21, 20. They're not that expensive even. They're like 40C. Divine Flesh, hell yeah. Oh no, not Divine Flesh. Corrupted Soul, right. So we're using Corrupting Fever, Swift Affliction, Brutality, because we're only dealing Fizz, right? Efficacy, Empower, level 4, and Life Tap. Life Tap doesn't do inherently anything, but because we have Life Tap on all of our skills, Life Tap is always up, so it benefits from it. You might have guessed that, like, I invested a lot into this, right? I have Enlighten 4, I have Empower 4, like this chest is 7 exalts or some shit. Yeah, this build can function on less. I would say under 10x you can assemble it like comfortably. Under 5x you can clear red maps, but like, you know, without the bosses and like without Awakener 9 bosses, because those get pretty tough. Because single target on this is pretty hard to achieve, and it's pretty hard capped at like 3 or 4 million. I'm currently dealing 2.7 to 3 mil DPS, and like the biggest DPS on PO Ninja is like slightly above 4 mil DPS. So yeah, to corrupt everything around us, we're using Ball Lightning, because it's like best in slot spell. I was trying other different spells for the delivery system, right? But nothing comes even close to Ball Lightning, because it tickles. Like, these balls tickle so much, it's insane. Like, one ball applies 8 to 10 stacks of Corrupting Fever, right? We're using it with greater multiple projectiles, Cyclone, Castable Channeling. Awakened Castable Channeling was like 50C as well. Those are dirty cheap. As well as Life Tap to proc Life Tap. We don't care about the level of Life Tap because it only increases the life you have to spend on the spell, as well as giving increased more damage to this. But we don't want Ball Lightning to deal any damage. The less the better, because early reflect. And Fortify for Cyclone, another layer of defense, right? Pretty pog. Using Sire of Shards, I tried a Kano Kulimak with Fizz.multi, but it doesn't feel like remotely as great, because you see, with Sire of Shards, what it does is it makes projectiles of Ball Lightning go into a circle, right, from a character, and like this would gives full coverage. But without it, the worst part about this setup is that like you cannot use it with Kano Kulimak, and it was very disappointing, because when you use it with let me actually showcase. I have it, I think. Because I have a pretty perfectly fitting Kano Kulimak as well. It has Fizz.multi, 85 Fizz.multi, as well as that minions deal increased damage, which I can get from Spiritual Aid. And like when I use it with Kano Kulimak or any other staff, you see, Ball Lightning doesn't auto aim. It will fly into a direction when I'm of my mouse, and it's just so clunky during mapping. And especially during bosses and conquerors, because you want to just focus on evading all the shit, right? Especially during like invitations, I tried Kano Kulimak, and it's just not a good sight. You could do it still with greater volley, because it will be like a wall of balls, right? But yeah, I don't recommend it. It just doesn't feel good, like remotely. Doesn't feel remotely as good. It does give a fuck ton of damage though. Basically 50% more damage with this. Oh well. The damage is enough. Alright. Maybe not 5 Engineer. Other than Sire of Shard and Astral Plate, I'm using Alpha's Howl for Reservation, Cannot Be Frozen, and Sacred Aura Gems. In Alpha's Howl, I'm running Pride, Herald of Purity, Malevolence, and Enlightened 4. A more budget version of this would use what is called the Mastermind. The Mastermind hat. How could I forget? You know what I mean. The Eldritch Battery one. Devouring Diadem. Yes, Devouring Diadem plus Mind Over Matter is a pretty cool starting point as well. Basically allows you to reserve all these auras as well without needing to get as much RMR, right? In my situation, I awakened this amulet and got extremely lucky and got Pride Reservation. That's why it allows me to run Alpha's Howl and cheat out a little bit of quality of life, Cannot Be Frozen, and +1 Aura Gems. That said, Devouring Diadem is pretty strong with the Feast of Flesh. Yeah, man. And yeah, I don't even have the enchant. Enchant would give some damage as well, but whatever. There's not a lot of people playing it, so not on the market. Using Stampede with Cannibalistic Rite, this is very important anoint. This is huge sustain during mapping, huge survivability. And Stampede, very important line for a Cyclone build. It says your movement speed is 150% of its value, of its base value. It means that Cyclone doesn't lower the movement speed, right? And we move at 150%. That said, it does mean that, for example, Quicksilver wouldn't do anything in Onslaught and stuff like that for movement speed, but 150 is pretty comfortable, right, with the coverage of this build. Using gloves with Calling Strike and Fizz.multi. Basically, you just want to awaken them together on any base and see what you land on. I bought these gloves for 1 Exalt, I think, or 1.5 Exalt. I got, like, pretty much scammed the person, but oh well. I think he was using it for, like, a melee skill, build, and that's why like he underballed it pretty badly. But I felt kind of bad, but then again, I kind of don't feel anything. So the build, I'm just running life, percent life with life, whatever. And I went for enemies maimed by you take increased damage over time because we have maim with flesh and stone. It's kind of, the wording on this means that like it is pretty strong, but not maybe for this particular build. But this Abyss Jewels this league are Omega weak, right? Due to the pollution of their mods. But this line, enemies maimed by you take 5% increased damage over time, is very strong. It basically means 5% more damage in a build that doesn't stack much, right? Increased damage over time or whatever. You know, just wanted to mention it. Yeah, life, percent life, hunter build, pretty nice. As I said, the amulet, I allocate charisma for some additional RMR. Yep. And very important craft, skills cost no mana or life while focused. Without it, you know, without the craft, I would do this. I would activate it. Hello. I would activate it. I would heal back and put it back. Yeah. Just get the craft. If you don't have the craft yet, it took me like a bunch of unveils to get it. You can PM me in game. You can find me on Discord. You can find me on Twitch. I will craft it for you. No problem. Using a ring with Poacher's Mark. Poacher's Mark is very good for a fizz skill, and vulnerability on hit ring. Also very nice. Crafted minus channeling here and minus total here, which doesn't matter actually. Like you can use whatever prefixes because we're just using everything on blood magic, right? So that's kind of how it is. That's it for the gear. Maybe some of the links. Mainly Corrupting Fever, Cyclone, Castle Channeling, the Aura setup. I'm also running Flesh and Stone and Maim because RMR allows me to. Using Vitality level 1 because of my Watcher's Eye. You can try different variations. War Banner is a good option if you have like some mana to spare, or you know you wanna do it with. You can do it with Arrogance as well to reserve your life over instead of mana. Those are some solid choices. War Banner is pretty strong too, right? Because it makes enemies take increased damage. Some people use it with Generosity as well because we don't care about the buff. Anomalous Blood Rage. It's a luxury. 5 exalts, but with the amount of hits that we do with our balls, this basically allows me to keep up frenzy charges, and frenzy charges are one of the few sources of more damage we get, man. I was like, I'm gonna be right back, okay? Cast with damage taken, Immortal Call with life tap, and Dievirgin Frostblink. If you're playing a Cyclone, Castle Channeling, Cast on crit, I highly recommend you switch to Frostblink because Frostblink is the only movement skill that doesn't interrupt your Cyclone. Even if you're, you know, using it as a main DPS source, Cyclone, do Frostblink. Frostblink is underrated. I'm also using Divergent, which basically makes it almost 0 cooldown, especially with the Stampede and like, you know, in a juiced mat, your Frostblink is going to be like no cooldown at all. That's it for the gear. I'm using Overflowing Chalice, Rumi's Concoction because we go block due to us being Gladiator, right? Ascendancy. Elixir of the Unbroken Circle, one of the strongest new flasks released. It basically keeps up endurance charges almost all the time, right? Just don't spam it, be wary of it. I'm using Blood of the Karui and Divine Flask of, you know, just to remove bleeding. And Instant Flask, pretty good. It's not an optimal flask setup, like Bottled Faith obviously would be better, but you know, doesn't need much. Like you could use a Jade Flask, you could use a Dodge Flask for 8, but we're already phasing via Cycloning, right? And yeah, there's not much else you can do on these. And we don't need mana at all. For the tree, we are Ascendant. Scion went for the Occultist, additional curse, as well as Path of the Witch to start from the Witch point, and Gladiator for more physical damage over time. Blind is useful because we're cycloning and hitting shit from time to time. Chance to block and chance to block, spell block. Very decent, very cool, very nice. Grabbing Life, Fizz.multi. This is my Watcher's Eye, 20 exalts. it's gonna be up for sale soon as well. If anyone wants to buy it, the market price will be like 30 exalts. I will sell it for 20. Yeah. Honestly though, all you want on your Watcher's Eye is damage over time by Malevolence, and it's enough for sustain. It's just a luxury. I was just, you know, it was a rash decision, but I don't regret it buying it. Vitality gain on hit is doesn't do much. It does do shit because we are always, you know, tickling ourselves with life tap. So it always is sustaining life, but like we gain so much more from this. So, and you can get like life on hit with spells on Elder base as well. So it's kind of a luxury, and you can just do a damage over time by Malevolence. It's actually pretty huge. Life mana cost, life cost in our case. This Thread of Hope is insane. It's maybe not that optimal, but I wanted to implement it because it grabs block, it grabs all the RMR, right? Reservation and life. Pretty cool, and allows me to save these. Like, these are pretty good value, but just looks dope, right? 2 Cluster Jewel setups. Both large Cluster Jewels are Furious Assault, Iron Breaker, and Master the Fundamentals. Physical damage, and Element Resistance physical damage. For the mediums, I have like Exposure Therapy everywhere. This basically takes care of my Chaos Res, some dot multi, some Chaos Res. Like, you want just stack as much damage over time multipliers as possible. Brush with Death, Exposure Therapy is probably the best combination, but I went with whatever I found here and there. For the jewels, I have Physical dot multi, increased life. Physical dot multi, this just life and Corrupted Blood and some res. Same Cluster Jewel setup here. Alright. Fizz dot multi, life, fire res. Fizz dot multi, life, all res. I'm using a Transcendent Might here for some dot multi. Currently it gives, how much it gives? 27 damage over time multiplier. Huge, huge, huge. And it's worth its money. I'm using a Glorious Vanaity with Corrupted Soul. What it does is it gives 1000 ES on top of what we have. It's insane, it's huge, and also makes damage we take be split between ES and life, because we get so much life sustain, why not like double dip in it even, right? And yeah, that's why I'm running life as extra ES. Exquisite Pain, I didn't even divine it, I bought it as it is, and this landed on damage over time and skill effect duration is pretty good. There's a couple of useful ones like life and whatnot, but I landed on a pretty juicy one, and yeah. Some damage over time here as well, and these path nodes are also can be pretty useful. Cold res and whatnot. This build does starve on resistances sometimes, depending on how you build. Mine kind of did. That's for the tree ascendancy. Covered everything, I think. PoB will be in this description down below. There will be my current one, and as well as that, a more budget version. You know, without the huge fucking things. Alright, I got it, man, I got it. I'm using Soul of the Brand King and Soul of the Aberrath, because this doesn't give movement speed or anything, right? So that's for the Pantheon. That's pretty much it, guys. Let me know if you like the build, the guide. I've been enjoying this a lot. I've been playing this for like yesterday and today. Join me on stream, and yeah, ask any questions if you have any. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. You just out. Gonna trade with this guy. Nice.